Hey guys, it's Dr. Jesse Ellis, and if you have been watching the videos or if you know me in person, see me around, you know I usually have a little bit different look. Not a big difference, but a little bit. And the main thing is just basically the beard is normally a little bit thicker. And a little funny story on that. Basically, what had happened this morning, I don't usually trim it this thin. I didn't do it on purpose today. But for some reason, something changed on the settings on my razor. It got bumped down from a 5.5 to a 5.4. So it made it a little bit more thin of a shave. By the time I actually noticed it, half my face was already done. I'm noticing there's more hair in the sink. It's taken off more hair than I was expecting. So I look at it and see what had happened. But this got me thinking, okay, there's nothing I can do now. Just shave it off. It's going to grow back in a week, right? Not a big deal. But what it got me thinking about is how this relates to or is comparable to what happens in our bodies when we have an injury. So a lot of times what people do, they don't notice that there's something going on till much further down the process. And the reason that is because your body doesn't always give you pain signals, or if it does, a lot of people just ignore it. They're not looking at, oh, hey, there's something wrong here. Let me check the dial, make sure it's where it's supposed to be. Oh, no, let's fix it. No, a lot of people will ignore it and they'll let the injuries build up, thinking it's going to go away. It's going to go away on its own. It'll be fine. I'll take the ibuprofen. I'll mask the symptom. I'll get rid of the pain and I'll be fine. But that injury is still there and it keeps building up over the years. And unfortunately, that leads to scar tissue building up and it leads into degeneration. So a lot of people will talk about, having arthritis in their spine or in their joints. Everybody gets arthritis. Arthritis is just inflammation in the joint. So that's not that big of a deal unless it's chronic. Chronic arthritis, yes, that's very debilitating. But what you should be more concerned with is degeneration. When you have degeneration, that's not necessarily arthritis. It can cause arthritis, but that degeneration is the breakdown, and that's what people are calling arthritis whenever they see breakdown in the joints, whenever they look at their x-rays. All right? So how do you stop that process in the first place? Well, ideal world, you don't get in any accidents, you don't have any physical trauma, and you keep your spine adjusted on a regular basis. That way things move properly. Because a joint that moves properly does not naturally break down. It's just like your car. You go out and you drive and you have good alignment, it doesn't break down as fast. And if it goes off, you realign it, get the tires aligned, the wheels, whatever you got to do, the axles, and it keeps the car from breaking down, right? Same thing with your body. You got to keep the joints moving, but you also have to keep them in good relation as far as structure goes. You can have moving joints, but if the structure's off, it's going to move abnormally, and that's going to break it down. We're talking joints here, okay? Same with your car. If you're driving on an uneven wheel base, yes, the wheels are moving. You're able to get to point A to point B, but eventually it's going to break your car down, right? Okay. So even if you're not a car person, I'm not a huge car person, but that analogy seems to make sense to me. If it makes sense to you, awesome. Comment below if it doesn't. Tell me analogies that do work for you because I'm always open to learning as well. But back to the issue at hand, when you ignore the issues and you keep going along, just kind of letting things come and go as they will, you're going to have this breakdown happen, and then someday you're going to say, hey, you have arthritis, and then it's going to take a whole lot longer to fix, if it's even fixable. Okay, so getting regular care is the number one key to keeping that. The ideal world doesn't hardly ever exist. We always have some kind of trauma. Unfortunately, it's not always physical trauma. So we also have thoughts that can be a trauma as well. So you got the physical, you got the thoughts, and then we have chemicals that cause an insult to our body. And if you want to throw, to me, I'll throw this one around. We have Wi-Fi now. We have dirty electricity, if you will. That Bluetooth is another one, but that type of electricity, that type of trauma, it's still a trauma. It's not quite a chemical, but it's a wavelength. So we can throw that in the chemical if you want, or we can add a third or a fourth trauma if you want. But basically, we have these little traumas that come around. And you may not have the big accidents, but you have repetitive trauma where you're doing the same thing all the time, or you're sitting and you're looking at your phones here. That's causing repetitive stress to your spine, so that's going to break things down. You have bad thoughts that happen, or you get upset at somebody, or you're just having a bad day. That comes into bad thoughts, which can change your posture, because if you're sad and you're depressed, you're going to be down and hunkered up like this, which is going to wear on your posture. It rounds out the spine, takes the curve out of the neck, causes tightness, and this will actually perpetuate depression. stand up nice and tall, you can reverse some of that just naturally. I mean, it feels a whole lot better, and it's a whole lot easier to smile here than it is. I mean, I can smile, but this feels extremely uncomfortable and unnatural trying to smile whenever I'm hunched over like that. So this is how the physical or the thoughts actually affect the physical. And then you have toxins or dirty electricity. Yeah, we'll throw that under the toxins. Whenever your body's being insulted or attacked by things that don't belong in it or that don't vibrate at the same frequency, that's where the dirty electricity comes in. It's a different vibration and it actually causes radiation issues and all this. But this is a different topic for a different time. But it does cause an insult to the body, and we have to adapt to that. And unfortunately, that adaptation is typically a stress response, which then pulls your body into a flexed posture most of the time because it's protective. And then you have different chemicals going on. Cortisol is a big one that sets off the stress cascade just so you can survive, basically. So you get the fight or flight response. So you're either going to get out of the situation or you're going to fight it, be safe. But this causes another thing, too, if that cascade's never stopped. A little bit of drip here and there, not a bad thing as long as the drip's turned off. Fire hose going off all the time, definitely a bad thing. If you've ever heard of adrenal fatigue, that's basically what you're dealing with at that point. But that's causing tension and stress to be held in the body, and that's pulling on the joints, and that's causing things to get stuck. And then again, things break down the longer they're there. So whenever you get to these issues, going back to the trimmer, I noticed it pretty quick. The only option for me at that time was just shave off the rest of my beard or just look funny. I mean, I guess I could have done that. Might have given somebody a laugh. But basically, I noticed the issue soon. We could rectify the issue. Whenever you notice the injury soon, you can rectify the injury and get through the issue. So this is going to take me about a week to grow back, probably even less than that. If you can get to an injury sooner, it might take you a week to a few weeks to get through and actually be healed on that end and get back to what's normal. Whenever you don't get to it, that's whenever the process takes longer. So the quick fix mentality that we're all brought into, I'm not going to lie, I would love for it to be that way. I think everybody would, but it's not a reality. You're never going to be 100% right off the bat unless you just literally did the injury right then and there and it's a quick, easy fix, no complications. But that's rarely the case. Typically, if you have something that's been there for a long amount of time, especially when you see that degeneration set in, you're looking at a long process. It's all a process to get there. So this kind of comes into a concept that I heard by watching the video the other day talking about wealth, basically, and building up riches and wealth for your family. And the concept is to build riches fast, get rich fast, build wealth slow. And there's a whole concept. If you want to watch the video, Myron Golden, go look at his channel. He talks about this concept. He teaches it great. But this also comes into your health as well. Yes, you want to get out of pain. Get out of pain as quick as you can, but you got to build your health up over time. And all that build up is done by actions, repetitive actions and choices that you make on a daily basis. So you go and you eat well. You eat your vegetables, you eat your salads, you're eating good, healthy fats, getting your proteins, clean proteins, you're exercising, you're doing some deep breathing to make sure you get some oxygen in, increased oxygen in your body, supplementing to minimize deficiencies, all this good stuff. You're building up towards health. So you're building that journey, if you will. You're making the right decisions. Now, let's say you're doing all that good stuff, and all of a sudden, oh, I deserve a candy bar. I want to eat that sugar. Fried food's not that bad if I do it every now and then. You eat that. So you're building, now all of a sudden you're going backwards a little bit. So you have this continuum we talked about on the previous video where you're always going back and forth. Always want to do more good than bad to balance out and always be building towards the health. But there's always going to be something that comes up that takes you down a little bit. So don't feel bad when that stuff happens. Some of it's unavoidable. Say you walk out and you have an accident happen, trip and fall, you get hit by a car, whatever the case is, Lord forbid that happen to anybody. But those are things that can happen. And just whenever you do, you got to realize, okay, the amount of damage that's done is going to determine how long it's going to take me to get back to normal. Okay, got it. This is a plan that we have in place to get me from where I'm at now all the way to where I want to be, to where I'm functioning normal, I don't hurt, and I realize, hey, I'm going to get to that point where I don't hurt first, but I may not feel normal. All a normal process, guys. It's frustrating, I get it, But this is all a normal process to get you back to optimal health. And time can be your biggest enemy, or it can be your biggest ally. So the choices we make, the habits we build, that's all what's going to get you there. Okay. So I know this is a roundabout way of talking about your beard, my beard, and your health. But the whole concept is get rid of the pain as quick as you can through natural means. Excuse me. Because unfortunately, the medications that you take, yeah, they can help. And if you absolutely have to use them to get through the situation because you got to do X, Y, Z, and you can't be hurting while you do it, I get it. Not going to judge anybody on that. But also know that those fall into the realm of toxins, and they will cause a physical insult to your body and create more of an issue. You may not notice it, but it does, and there's a reason there's side effects. They're not necessarily side effects, they're just unwanted effects, and we can have a whole chemistry lesson on that one, but I'm not going to bore you with that today. But do know that, yes, even if you have to do that stuff in the short term, you got to get to the cause to get the pain out for good, but always still be building towards that health. Okay, time is your friend if you're building it. It's your enemy if you're not. So hope you have a great day, guys. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody. And again, if you have any other analogies that you guys like, even if it's funny, put some jokes down below. I'd like to read those. And it is actually something that can be beneficial to your health too. Laughing more to actually boost your immune system. So go out, watch something funny, tell a joke, and I will see you all next time. Bye.